Happy Tuesday, Maverick Traders. This is Rob Reinhold. It is Tuesday, April 22nd, and we had a big update today, a big down day yesterday. But we're basically where we ended the week last week. We are literally a few days away from our Vegas summit. I've already had some questions from traders. We're going to be going over how to use AI to make yourself a better trader. Don't worry if you cannot attend it live. Then for our traders, we will have videos ready for you by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week to where you can basically see everything we talked about in the 2-day summit. So just give us a couple days to get home from Vegas, relax a little bit, and we'll get everything out to you via email and through the website. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this market and look at the numbers, look at the news of the day. Not a lot of news as far as economic reports go. We did have European consumer confidence a little bit worse than expected. But the big news came in the U.S. session when a report came out that Scott Bessent said behind closed deals that the trade war with China was, quote, unsustainable and that they had to do something. And then he came out later in the day and said that a deal with China can be made and is likely to be made. The market really liked that, and they liked it quite a bit. So what happened in the Forex side was we actually got the dollar bouncing. Now, again, the dollar has been the worst currency because of the tariffs. When there's relief of tariffs, then the dollar gets some relief as well. So dollar and CAD are very highly correlated together. And you can see now the CAD also had a nice bounce as well, much larger than the dollar. I think we can continue to see this, that if tariffs start to look like they're going to be less than expected or less than feared, I think the CAD is going to rally more than the dollar will rally. The dollar has fallen a tremendous amount over the first couple months of this year. Look, it had a nice rally for the last couple of years, but we're definitely seeing the dollar coming down. And the other thing we're seeing is that the European and Swiss franc are acting as the currencies of safety at the moment. When people are worried and they're running away from the dollar, and you can see they're not running to the yen. No one's running to go hide in the yen. They're all going into the Swiss franc and the euro. Right now, the Swiss franc is as highly correlated to the S&P that I've ever seen in my entire life. Right now, the Swiss franc trade is all about bullishness and bearishness in the equity markets. If the markets are going higher, the Swiss franc is going lower. If the equity markets go lower, the Swiss franc is going higher. There's not even a question. I think this is the clearest trade at the moment right now, is that the Swiss franc is basically tied with equities. Everything else, pound, Aussie, Kiwi, pretty flat on the day. You can see the real motion was in the Swiss franc and the dollar and the CAD. Coming over here to equities, equities had a nice day, up 2%, crypto up 5%, and that's where the real story is. And that's really what I want to focus on. Before we jump into crypto, gold, let's talk about gold. Gold has been the best performing currency or best performing asset of any. It has three things going for it: a weak US dollar, worry about the economy, and inflation worries. Those three things have pushed gold up to all-time highs. If those things get released, if all of a sudden the stock market doesn't look so scary, all of a sudden the dollar firms up, and all of a sudden inflation doesn't look like it's going to be as bad because the tariffs aren't as bad, this gold is going to come down substantially. If all those things stay, gold likely goes even higher. But the one asset class that I'm actually really interested in right now is crypto. Crypto looks fantastic at the moment, and I'm going to show you that it looks better than pretty much any other asset class out there. So I've been very negative on crypto for the last 2 to 3 months. I've been saying, no, I don't like it, don't like it, don't like it. It's actually my favorite trade at the moment. Nothing has really changed. When we take a look at the S&P, I've been very clear over the last 2 weeks that I said I think we're in a range from 5,100 to 5,500. We came down and hit 5,101 yesterday, and you can see we're just back to the middle of the range. Even if we bounce up into this area between 5,400 and 5,500, that's like 5% higher. Not 5%. That's like 2.5 to 4.5% higher. That's a big move. We're still not out of the range. We're not even close to out of the range. I think there's some good money to be made. I do think we're going to end up at the top end of this range, this is a big rally still left to go. Like another 2, 3, 4% in the S&P before we get to the top of that range. Tomorrow, there's not a lot on the calendar. We've got European PMIs, and that's about it. That's about it. So tomorrow's likely to be a fairly mellow day. Whenever we have these big days where we have big expanded range candles and lots of energy was released, we usually get kind of a rest day. But if we get another up day in equities, even if it's like up maybe 0.5%, which I think is likely, we had a day today where we gapped up and closed near the high. Those typically have follow through. I think that Swiss franc is ripe for a short. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the possible trades out there, and we'll get our currency scoreboard. Before we look at the Swiss franc, I really want to focus on Bitcoin. And I want to go to a daily chart. And I just want to show you the kind of breakout we've had on a daily chart. We've had a downtrend in Bitcoin since really the first of the year. And for this whole time, I've said, nope, not interested, not interested. None of the bounces interested me because none of them were higher highs or even looked like they had some momentum. This it now looks. It's broken all the technical downtrends. It's broken all the resistance areas. I mean, this has everything going for it technically at the moment. The only thing I don't love is that we've had 2 really big candles. So I'm definitely waiting for a pullback or a base. Give me a pullback or a base. I like it. Do we pull back down to 90,000? I think we're going to base probably, which means that I need to be patient, let this thing base, but then if it breaks out above 92,000, it's a clear buy. Or if you want to buy it down here if it gets below 90, I think below 90 is a decent place to grab it as well with a little bit of a pullback. I like Bitcoin, but I actually like Ethereum better. Very rarely do I go against relative strength. And the reason that I don't go against relative strength is because I used to all the time, as a young trader, buy the worst thing. When the market finally bottomed out and it's finally ready to go higher, I would always go find the worst performing stock and buy that. And it always underperformed. I shouldn't say always, but most of the time it underperformed. This is the same thing. Ethereum has gone from 4,000 down to 1,400. That is a huge, that's like a 65% loss. This has been the worst crypto by far. And it's having a bounce. I think just like you stretch an elastic so far, I think you're going to get a larger than expected snapback. And we can already see it. Bitcoin's up 4%. Ethereum's up 9% on the day. I do think this thing has some more room to go. We just cleared out of a pretty key technical level at 1675. All right, we're going to run into some more resistance up here at 1800. I think this here up to 1800, I think it's got a lot of momentum at the moment. I like Ethereum here. I like Bitcoin here. Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, you know what? I'm not even going to focus on those because I do like that better. This to me is the most interesting trade at the moment. In Forex, I think the Swiss franc is the most interesting trade at the moment. And I'm going to go to a daily chart. You can see the huge run we've had. And take a look at this run we've had in Swiss franc. Really for the last 3 years, we have appreciated substantially. Now look, there's a good reason why. It's been a very stable currency. It's got lots of gold exposure. There's a lot of great reasons why. You can see, though, the candles we're starting to get here, open at the high, close at the low. There's a lot of selling in here. If we go to a 4-hour chart, we're starting to see that we're getting some key levels starting to break. So this big uptrend that we had, I think we can say has come to a close. That doesn't mean it's in a downtrend, but everything here is telling us it's going down and going down sharply at the moment. EMA is turning down, RSI is plunging, parabolic SAR has turned, we've broken through support. I like the Swiss franc. Here's the problem. What to buy it against? I don't know. It really doesn't look good. Go through yen. It's like, no, I don't want to buy yen here. The yen's not a buy. Dollar, ugh, this is the dollar 4-hour chart. Okay, it's at least got something, but it doesn't look great. Euro is going to be flat. Pound, look at pound. I don't want to mess around with this. I have no desire to mess around with a currency doing this. Long wicks going nowhere. No thanks. Aussie, same thing, going nowhere. Kiwi, same thing, going nowhere. There's only one place to go, and that's the CAD. And look, it doesn't even look all that great. On a daily chart, it looks horrible, but it is at a bottom. It did find some support here, and it is bouncing. So at the moment, it has the most velocity of any of them. Looking at velocity scores, this is where we are. CAD and crypto on the long side and Swiss franc on the short side. Everything else, to me, is fairly untradeable. I'm not super excited over the next 24 hours because I think we are going to take a little pause. Even in crypto, I think we're going to take a little pause. But I think there is one trade that looks really interesting right now, which is CAD Swiss franc. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. I already kind of went through Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. So let's pull up CAD Swiss franc on a daily chart. You can see that we just had this big plunge lower. So this is going to be a counter trend trade on a daily chart. I don't make these often. I don't like them because they end up being these kind of bounces. Like we have a big fall and then look at this horrible bounce to try to buy into. Terrible. It's typically a terrible thing to do is to buy a new low off of a daily chart trying to get a decent bounce out of it. I fully understand that. And I fully understand that this is not a technical trade that is one of the great ones that I've seen in my life. That being said, momentum. If you are going to make a trade, I think it's the only place to be at the moment. It's the only place that has a lot of momentum. And we're breaking out of this 59.40 area. Next stop could be up in this 60.80 area. That's a big move. That's a lot of percent in there on a 59-cent currency. There's a lot of room here. I like this one, not because it's a great setup. I like this one because I think the risk reward is asymmetric, meaning that I think there's way more reward than risk. Even though it's not a great setup, to me, it's really the best trade out there at the moment, other than getting a little dip or a base in crypto and going long off crypto. Other than that, I think we need to let this market settle out and check back in a day or two to see if some other currencies are trading. Wrapping this up, S&P range 5,100 to 5,500. Remember, that's an 8% range. There's a lot of money to be made in here, just being range bound. The Swiss franc, this is as highly correlated to the SPX that I've ever seen. If you think that equity markets are likely to keep going higher or at least stay where they are, Swiss franc is a great short. If you think if you think that equities are going to turn down and we're going to go back down and plunge to new lows, Swiss franc is a great buy. It's highly correlated to the SPX at the moment. I personally think that market's going to move up to that 5,500 area, so I want to be short Swiss franc. Other than that, cryptos. Cryptos are what's in play at the moment, but they've had a big run, so let them settle out, base, pull back, and look for better entries. Thanks for joining me. Bye, everyone.